This week on the Squatchers Lounge podcast, Dave and the Reverend Jeff take a look at the Spanish Bigfoot. Basques! We're gonna prove this European Bigfoot theory once and for all. Someday. But for today, luckily we have some news and some other stuff. And our cryptid from around the world wouldn't be complete without Google Earth. And now for your host, the man who's as much Bigfoot as he is Neanderthal, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
That's right, folks. Some women ask me why it is I keep my beard this long, and basically what I tell them is I am neither a child nor a woman. So welcome to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I'm your host, the Reverend Jeff Kelly, with the giant friggin' beard. And over there with the baby beard is Dr. David Batdorf, Esquire, pseudoscientist.
I saw a great meme today where it said, if you have a beard but can't change a tire, shave.
Shave, that's right. I saw that the other day too. That was absolutely fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us here for season 4. Can you imagine that? Season 4. The people said I wouldn't get past season 1. Well, you're wrong. And here we are. We're talking about the Basajun. Well, there's lots of ways to pronounce it, but we're going to get to that in just a little bit. Right now, we're going to kick it off with the news, because this week, there's a bunch of stuff in there that's pretty freaking cool. First things up tonight. Speaking of science, terrifying ancient crocodile discovered in the Sahara. That's right. It was almost the size of the bus, and the Sahara used to be an ocean. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Everything used to be an ocean, from what I understand.
When you talk about the saltwater crocodile, there's our most famous and long-standing saltwater reptile.
Exactly.
Yeah, all of that. It doesn't matter if they're fresh or salty. They were all salty at one point. Amazing.
Paleontologists searching far and wide in Tunisia, of all places, made a discovery of a massive proportion, the world's largest sea-dwelling crocodile, previously unknown to science. This prehistoric crocodile is believed to have measured more than 30 feet long and weighed more than 3 tons. The skull alone was more than 5 feet long. Researchers named the new species, I can't pronounce it, Rex, and described their findings this week.
Machimasaurus?
Yeah.
Is it Machimasaurus? I don't think is that made up?
I don't know, but that's how you
the Machismosaurus.
The Machismosaurus. Hey, check this one out at thewashingtonpost.com. It's got to be true if it's coming from the Washington Post. At least that's what they say. Okay, little bit of Bigfoot update. The NAWAC, the North America Wood Ape Conservatory. Didn't these guys used to be out of Texas?
NAWA.
Anyhow, these guys have actually kind of got some good things going on. Wood ape sightings, correlations to annual rainfall totals, waterways, human population densities, and black bear habitat. This is the kind of science that's actually probably going to help narrow down the types of locations people should actually be looking.
So when you say correlations are good. You know, we always, a correlation does not equal causation. Okay, but you could draw the correlations, and now you have to test them. So you now have to take these correlations, develop a working hypothesis, and then develop ways of testing said hypothesis. Then the correlations are now past hypotheticals. It's not a hypothesis anymore. It's it's something that needs to be completely.
And if you find results from your hypothesis, it goes from a hypothesis to a theory, and then you can present that theory and explore it further.
Well,
if there isn't anything that results from the hypothesis,
a theory would be passing multiple aspects of the same hypothesis. But what that is it's something tangible, like you just proved something. So very interesting, and it's hard to do that without a subject, by the way. But that's what these guys are doing.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of Bigfoot groups out there that are actually applying any science to much of anything. So kudos to the NAWAC. They're also one of the ones that are willing to take a subject if needed. So
that's the crux of like all this correlation in data is really hard to pass the next step without a subject. So they are willing to take the subject.
Exactly, and that's really what's going to be part of the scientific plan. But moving right along, Speaking of Oklahoma, Bigfoot scaring up stories and tourism columns in southeast Oklahoma. The stories go back for generations. Reports of something not quite human in the wooded hills as far as southeastern Oklahoma. The legend of Bigfoot is growing in McCurtain County and attracting tourists. That's right. Charles Benton says he knows what he saw 5 years ago, a few miles north of Broken Bow, deep in the woods near Hookatown. It's where he says a turkey hunt turned into the scene of a lifetime. Behind me, I could hear this moaning, this grunting, and I could feel it almost. Ben says he's tall, burly, with a weathered face and a long white beard. Not Bigfoot, but Benton. So, I mean, a lot of people believe that there's Bigfoot in Oklahoma. Matt Knapp, that we know, Bigfoot Crossroads, you know, he's over there in the hub of all of that and has been researching out there for years. I just, you know, it's a matter of why not.
Well, and it depends on which portions and which areas you're looking at, and we like to look at corridors and stuff. But you know, Oklahoma, like a lot of people focus on Texas because it's got some good green belts and a couple like, you know, elevated areas that catch water, yada yada yada. But Oklahoma is
mountainous,
pretty close in proximity to all of those same, you know, workings. Like, yeah, Bigfoot doesn't really care about our state boundaries.
No.
So anyway, yeah, interesting stuff. But it's always just good to see Bigfoot back in the news headlines.
Exactly. Moving on. British Bigfoot spotted by Border Collie on Forest Walk in Sussex. Dog owner
I take it back. On HuffPost, it's never good to see Bigfoot in the headline.
Yeah, not even a little bit. I mean, this is one of those situations where I can recognize that costume by going on Google and just doing a Bigfoot costume search, and it'll pop right up. It has a rubber face and a crappy black fur suit. Not even a little bit. So
British
there you
Bigfoot
go.
or a dude in a suit.
Dude in a suit. I vote. How about you?
I'm probably with British Bigfoot in Sussex. Does anybody know where Sussex is?
Yeah, it's nowhere near where Bigfoot would probably
live. It's kind of a pretty large area, and there's lots of action. And if you like to drink and party, you're probably in the right place if you're in Sussex. Not so much for this squatching.
Yeah, well, we'll see. There'll be more spotted in Sussex, I'm sure, after this one. After 12 years, a girl is reunited with gorilla friends deep in the jungle. What occurs is beautiful. Talk about clickbait. For 15 years, the Aspinall Foundation has been reintroducing captive gorillas back into the wild, from Howlett's Wild Animal Park in England to their millions of acres in West Africa. I'm not really sure that's the wild, but at least it's a sanctuary.
A very large, appropriate sanctuary.
That was over 12 years ago, which the last time when Damien's daughter Tansy saw him, and she shared a very special connection as well. Desiring to be reunited with her friends, the Aspinalls set out to find the gorillas. After long searching, they finally found their friends hanging alongside a river. It was a miracle they spotted them at all. I mean, dude, I'm sorry, but I'm not taking my family and putting them at risk with these gorillas in the wild. There, I mean, that's just me.
I have to imagine that there were somewhat more controlled circumstances than just like
the family wandering around the 50 million acres looking for the gorillas.
Hey, are those the gorillas we released out here 12 years ago? No, so I mean that there's probably some more controlled circumstances than that. However, this is one of those circumstances where it shows facial recognition and the altruism of our great ape cousins, and the fact they probably could remember for that long. I mean, you remember somebody that you were very closely, in close contact with 12 years prior. So you definitely, even with changes in body and form, you would know who that person was. Ape or no?
Exactly. You can check this one and inspiremore.com. Well, at least use their web URL. Hey, the search for Bigfoot comes to East Texas, Cherokee County, Texas. It has many names. Some call it Bigfoot, Sasquatch, even Yeti. The creature's existence has never been scientifically established, but still the sightings of the big hairy creature continue. And that's what keeps a group of Bigfoot experts, in quotations, still searching for it. Recently captured images taken at a hunting site in Cherokee County brought the Bigfoot experts to East Texas. Known by many names as the godfather of Bigfoot, Tom the hoaxer Biscardi has been on the hunt for the creature for more than 45 years. I know that one day or another, someone's going to come across one and bring it to the front and prove it to the scientific world. And that's here, he said. So congratulations, Carmine Biscardi and Tom Biscardi are in East Texas looking for Bigfoot once more.
Joan,
get me
a Snapple.
I think we have that here somewhere, don't we?
Yeah, possibly.
Give me a Snapple.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Biscardi is.
I'm glad that the old Tommy B is still up to his roots and his old tricks.
Yeah, people, if you don't know who Tom Biscardi is, Tom Biscardi was mentored by Ivan Marks, the hoaxer. So if you just look up Ivan Marks and see all the hoaxing stuff that Ivan Marks did, know that Tom Biscardi was hand in hand with all of the stuff that Ivan Marks did, and then just continued it on after Ivan Marks' death. I'm not too sure about Carmine because I can't directly put my finger in on a hoax on him yet. However, Tom was part of the 2008 Dyer incident where he said he put his hands on this creature and it was 1,000% real.
He poked around in it with a stick.
Poked around in the possum guts with a stick. That's right, people. CBS19.tv. That's where you can find that particular article. Humans leave a telltale residue on Earth. Scientists find a layer of plastics, radiation, and soot embedded in the planet's surface, defining a new Anthropocene epoch.
Yeah, so yeah, we go from the Pleistocene to the Miocene to the Holocene to the Anthropocene because we left so much grit of our own self in the sedimentary layer that we are creating currently, that this will be defined as the epoch in which we made plastic.
In 5,000 years, when the scientists are digging back through the layers of the Earth like we do now, they'll find where we invented Bakelite.
Yeah.
They'll find where we invented vulcanized rubber.
Oh, that's styrofoam for sure.
Exactly. They'll find where, because it's how things start. There's no existence of it before, and then there becomes existence of it. That's how it works. Where we're leaving so much of this shit behind that it's already in the Earth's crusts.
Well, you think of all the synthesized material that we discard, or that does like break down into the sedimentary layers. That, you know, if somebody took one of our, our periodic tables, periodic charts, and tried to figure out what we were doing, like, what the hell is that? That's not an element. That's not something that occurs naturally. Well, they're going to find a lot of that in a very short period of time, like the last 500 years or so. And that's going to really kind of, if we were to look back, we are definitely in a new epoch as we define it geologically, because you can look through the sedimentary layer that we're creating, or that we have created, and define where we began. And that's it's important for everybody to know those sort of things.
And just to key in directly, that's like 1961, people. 1961 is going to be where this epoch actually starts, and that's just a weird moment in time.
Yeah, but again, those are important things for us to realize. Is like, okay, as of 1961, we've introduced so much stuff that we've changed the composition of the top layer of the Earth. That's pretty important. So good knowledge to have, not just me being a hippie. That's science. ScientificAmerican.com. That's where you'll find this one. Hey, David sent me this little bastard. Diabolical falcons trap living birds in rocks for future meals. A team of ornithologists were working on a small Moroccan island when they observed some rather bizarre behavior in adult falcons. The raptors appeared to be imprisoning tiny birds in the crevices of rocks in an effort to keep them fresh for a later meal. They chase them into these rocks, and then they like shove a rock in the opening so they can't get out. It puts the suet in the basket.
That's right. It puts the lotion on its beak.
Yeah, it puts the lotion on his beak. This is pretty crazy, but it just reminds you of like even raptors are known to be some of the dumbest birds. Like the really eagles, falcons, and owls really don't have the cognitive abilities of most other birds, but they're still smart enough to accomplish this complex task of imprisoning something to eat later live. It's not stashing food. It's trapping it in there because I can just pull that thing out. It can't get away, and I can eat it later.
Well, that's incredible. Reminds me of an article about a lion that was seen with this antelope, and they were trying to make it out to be like this lion and antelope were friends. And for 2 months, this lion would come up on this antelope every day, and the antelope would just run over to it until the antelope was almost full grown, and then the lion ate it. So, it's like, be careful who your friends are. That's kind of just effed up, man. Speaking of effed up things, cougar with bizarre horns on its head? No, those aren't horns. That's right. It looks like it could be a chimera-like beast from an ancient myth, but this bizarre cougar was actually found among the hunting community of Idaho. That's right. Somebody shot this cougar, and when they got up on top of it, they found that it had another set of teeth on the top of its head. Now, they mentioned chimera here, but David and I were talking pre-show. We're pretty sure this is one of those vestigial twin type of situations where the body absorbed everything but this, and this just kind of attached to the cap, and it's what's left of his twin brother.
So the difference between, we brought this up in some episode this last year, like chimerism would be where two sperm cells impregnate the same egg, and when cells start to divide, it takes different parts of different, of the different zygotes. This is probably an occasion where there's a vestigial twin that was reabsorbed by the dominant twin, and this is a little bit of that twin left there. Like, so I
wonder if that lip moved.
Not a second head or anything like that, but there's a second set of teeth on the head, and that's kind of crazy. And that it's amazing that this animal survived to like seemingly like at least like late adolescence and if not adulthood. That's pretty big cat, it looks like.
Yeah,
so imagine
if that lip moved when that thing growled at people, the top of its head would quiver with those teeth up there.
Yeah, I'm just thinking this comes straight out of my nightmares.
Yeah, I don't want to be dreaming about this one too much, but IFL Science people, that's what you get on articles from them. Hey, I found another one on National Geographic. Iceman's gut holds clues to humans spread to Europe. I'm just ahead of things. The frozen mummy may have died with a wicked stomachache from pylori bacteria, which also helped date a migration wave from Africa. Exciting. The new DNA analysis of the stomach contents of Otzi, the famous 53-year-old 100 ice mummy known as the Iceman, has found that his gut contains a strain of infectious stomach bacteria not seen in modern humans. Neat.
Hey, it's fantastic. What we've gotten from this dude, Otzi. He's my homeboy. But
Otzi's my homeboy.
Yeah. Well, like not only like it's a great example because he was 10 years the senior of the life expectancy at the time, and totally messed up from all of these ailments, from arthritis to being shot by arrows and having like bone breaks and his skull fractures. This dude lived a hard ass life. And also he probably, while he died from an arrow wound. But when he died, he probably also had like the worst gut ache you ever could imagine.
Yeah, that's gotta be horrible. He's probably happy to get that arrow. Oh, thank God it's over.
Thank God.
I'm not gonna bleed out here. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah. So anyway, fantastic stuff, and it like this incomplete work, but it helped. Nobody's really talking about what it actually means, but it does help to talk about how things flowed out of Africa. But at 5,300 years ago, it's very, very interesting. That they're still talking about that. So that's going to take a lot of back work and a lot of other corroboration to really make any assumptions there. Like all the articles, actually, we don't have a link to that, but all the articles that are saying, well, if you have allergies, blame the Neanderthals. Well, that's not like, wait, hold on 1 minute right there. Like, there's a lot of articles that are saying this, but all it's saying is that Neanderthals likely had the same allergies that we do, not necessarily that they caused allergies in all the European people who have a larger percentage of that DNA.
I blame the jackasses that moved from the East Coast out here to the West Coast and brought their plants with them. Anyhow, you can check out this article on nationalgeographic.com. Kwazii is our homeboy. All right. I gotta blubber it. I just picked this one up on my news feed just before the show started. The Oregon militia leader is really asking you to stop sending them dildos and bags of dicks. Apparently, when they ask for food and some other supplies for people to help them out, people have been sending mail there, and I guess the mailman's actually been delivering it, so much so that he has a countertop full of dildos and bags of dicks. So for anybody who might actually be listening to our show who might have sent them a dildo or a bag of dicks or considered maybe mailing them some dog crap, let me give you a little piece of information. It is 100% legal to mail a paper bag through the U.S. mail system. If you write an address on that paper bag and put some contents in it and staple it shut, put, 2 stamps on it for something like that, depending on weight, put it in the mailbox, it'll actually get delivered to whoever the recipient on that paper bag is. So it might not be a bag of dicks, but a bag of crap would really lighten my day on these assholes.
Maybe, just maybe, more bags of dicks.
I mean, just watching him over and over and over again slide all these boxes and bags of dicks off the table just makes me feel so good as a human being.
Well,
now.
He was trying to prove a point, but I think the point that's made better is all the people who sent that. Now he has to clean up a big pile of dicks.
Bags of dicks. Somebody has to pick up all those dicks up off the floor now.
Yeah.
So
either that, or he's just going to step over a big pile of dicks every single day, and that's worth it.
Right. Well, this is the inside of that taking over friggin' government building, so they might not have to clean up the bag of dicks, but they will have to walk over the bag of dicks every day and remind them that people are sending them bags of dicks. So congratulations to the people out there who've done that. And remember, a paper bag can be mailed to the U.S. mail system with no problem.
technically a government building, possibly a bird sanctuary. Yeah, don't ask for snacks. If you're doing a takeover, don't ask for snacks. You'll get a bag of dicks.
That's right. Finally tonight, Dr. Johnson's feud with the Bluff Creek Project. Yeah, apparently, as we reported last week, the Bluff Creek Project indeed did find the location of Soha. I do have the GPS coordinates for that. It's kind of funny now. If you go through this whole thing, basically it tells you that now that somebody has found his hoaxing location, the Bigfoots have given him a message that they're going to move on. He's not exactly sure where they're going to move on, so he doesn't know where his new campsite is going to be, but he's sure that the Bigfoot will contact him and let him know.
Maybe the Bigfoots are like, stop putting our stuff on, like, stop posting stuff about us online, or we'll send you a bag of dicks.
A bag of dicks. Well, I can guarantee you, Dr. Johnson, whoever out there is looking for you is going to find your new campsite too, because you're just not smart enough to keep your mouth shut. Apparently, the portal at Soha was closed for the holidays because the Vortex house was closed, but somehow the Bigfoot got a message to him anyhow. This whole thing is so comical, and I have had some personal conversations with people who are really mad at me because I'm so critical of them working with an ass clown like this guy. It's one thing to just ignore the fact that he's out there. It's another to go and work on his woo fests. And speaking of woo fests, that's another thing that's coming up here. We'll put it out there with Portalgate. Here's a big picture of your 2016 lineup for Woo Fest. Bob Gimlin goes anywhere he gets paid for, but the rest of them, I kind of think they belong there. Gunner, I love you, brother, but if you're going to hang out with the woos, it's going to infect you. I mean, just the way it goes. And now we've got Woofest Michael Merchant and Lady K coming out. Well, good for you, dude. You're going to get a trip out to Matthew Johnson's Crimea Riverland, where he's going to cry and do nothing about how people are invading his campsites. Stacy Brown Jr., that guy wished death on the entire Bigfoot community, and he wasn't even kidding. Yeah, he's got ethics. He's not even friggin', he doesn't even have a Bigfoot video, people. It's his dad's. He didn't even take it. Anyhow, whatever. What is there to go and listen to here?
Well,
I'm lost. I'm just lost for what information. None of these people have really found Bigfoot, except for Bob Gimlin, and he lucked into it. So please tell me how any of these people are going to be able to tell the crowd how to really find Bigfoot.
If you're a skeptical asshole like myself, there's a whole lot to listen to. I mean, if this is part of the story, there's definitely something to that. Part of the story that is interesting to me, but not necessarily helping us to find the
to actually find the actual Sam Squanch. Well, guys, this is going to be a good point. Let's go ahead and get our Kwazii on for the week. And now, Kwazii Theories from a Kwazii Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
I just finished watching a show covering the 2016 Consumer Electronics Show out in Vegas. I found it disconcerting, to say the least. Forget your fears of Skynet and T-1000s coming for you. Focus your paranoia on that which you will soon use every day. There are now at least 3 brands of digital sneakers, one of which can tighten or loosen its own shoelaces, 2 of which have HD displays, yes, HDTV on your shoes, and 2 of which have foot warmers, all of which Bluetooth to your phone. Your phone can Bluetooth to your computer, your new digital refrigerator can Wi-Fi to your TV, which can Wi-Fi to your phone, which can Bluetooth to your electric blanket, which can talk to your sneakers. Your Japanese digitally controlled toilet, which can spray wash your butt and genitals, will then blow dry, no pun intended, those areas, and is controlled by Bluetoothing to your phone. The heating, air conditioning, door locks, and burglar alarm in your house talk to your computer with Wi-Fi, and your computer talks to your phone about how things are going home-wise. This is a shortened list of all the potentially digitally connectable items that are available now or in a year or two. They are all talking to each other more and more. Soon, if you piss off your refrigerator, your toilet may not dry your butt. Anger your microwave, and your refrigerator will only order gluten-free vegan food from Peapod. Or maybe worst of all, annoy your phone and it will tighten the bejesus out of your shoelaces, give you a hot foot, and then program the video displays on those sneakers to show all the porn in full HD you've had Siri search for. Skynet and the T-1000 would mercifully only kill you. You may read the text of this hypothesis on my blog, My Blatherings, at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Well, there you have it, folks. A little bit of Kwazii science from a Kwazii scientist. Thanks a lot, Dean Cooper. I'm with you, bro. The friggin' the future's pretty freaking scary about there's going to be no privacy. Look, I don't have a whole lot of things in my life that are private. I really don't. But there's going to be zero privacy in the next generation, and I'm so glad I'm not part of that.
It becomes more and more integrated is the word. So and the more and more integrated things get, the more and more I just want to turn it off, because the only power we have against the machines is the power button, the plug out of the wall.
That's how we do it.
IT department, have you tried turning it on and off?
That's right. Hey, let's give some shout outs to the chat room out there. We've got Dick Jones, The Life and Times of Jevon C. Connick, and more. That's right. The Life and Times of Jesus Christ of Monterey Bay. Dean Cooper's out there, of course. Thanks for hanging out so late with everybody. Yeti's uncle, We appreciate the fact that Yeti's uncle is out hanging in the chat room as well. I know there's more. Wait, there's more. I'm looking for you out there. Ty Bivens. We appreciate the fact that you came and hung out with us tonight live at a late edition along with Mr. Collier Williams. We have the power of the big red button. That is exactly right, sir. We appreciate all of you guys hanging out in the chat room tonight. And now we get on to talk about our topic, the June from Spain. Now, everybody thinks of Spain as this wonderful beach, ocean destination, but that's only one part of the country, people. The rest of the place is pretty fucking rugged.
I refuse to acknowledge anything other than the beach aspects of Spain.
The actual border between France and Spain is a pretty serious place, and that's actually what we're talking about tonight. Is the God, I don't want to mispronounce their name. This is Basque people. I want to say that's pronounced the Basque, but Basque maybe.
Basque, yeah, there we go. So what we're looking at really is the Spanish Alps, this northern Spain area, the Pyrenees Mountains, which is a fantastic area and interesting geologically in recent times. Thinking even back into times of like modern humans and Neanderthals coming together, because we know that in southern France and in these areas of Spain is where we're finding a lot of these amazing Neanderthal finds. So this is like the last stronghold in these areas. And an interesting idea is this what we're talking about with the wild man, the hairy man? We know there wasn't that much difference, but these are some pretty rugged lines here. Looking at northern Spain and this entire thing, and what we also have to remember is that in early times, this probably wasn't as dry, and as it was probably temperate, and it was probably a whole lot more like this French, the French area. And this is something interesting that there's not a lot of stories. Maybe we'll have to look more into this in this, like France, Italy.
Well, there are there are the stories of the Switzerland, the Snowmannen, the Swiss. What was Sweden as well? So along the Alpines, there are discussions.
We're looking quite a bit away from down here, and once you start getting into that, you start to get into the drier region. But if you think about this in geological terms, if you're looking at 1 million years ago, okay, so we don't have a written record. We probably don't have a verbal record because we weren't even there, right? But this being the last stronghold, this is the reason that we have this dry patch here is probably because of the mountains over here and the mountains up here, and that's kind of what we're looking for in this Sasquatch problem, where you zoom out and you see these epic mountains over here and this green belt beneath where you see the rainfall, the rain shadow. You see the same thing, but it's a miniature version over here. Interesting that this has its very own Bigfoot or wild man, like we were talking about the wood woes up in this area here, not that far. All you have to do is cross through France and then end up down here. The English Channel was Normandy very much attached at some point? Interesting questions.
Yeah. Now, the Basque people are an ethnic group that date back many centuries. They lived along the western end of the Pyrenees to the coast of the Bay of Biscay, an area that's now north central Spain to southwestern France. This unique experience focuses on the mythology and the tales from the region that date back to prehistoric times. So we're not talking about, just crazy people with seeing stories. They've got cave drawings, and there are, just like we have here in America, they date back for century upon century. So there has to be a root of it, wouldn't you think?
Exactly. So this is where I get really excited, like from an there's different parts of anthropology. There's like the physical anthropology, like we think about Dr. Milderman, the foot and the actual bones and all of that. But the cultural anthropology, there's a definite important aspect of the Bigfoot thing to that, and this is where I get excited. Like, we're talking about prehistoric, meaning like written history, like stories, like verbal legends that we associate with the Native Americans. We also see these prehistoric verbal legends in Spain, and that's exactly what we're looking for in this, super tropical green belt that circles our globe that we're talking about. Yeah, I mean, the Basques, I think is how they actually pronounce it, basically just means Lord of the Woods.
Lord of the Forest. It's one of the main characters in the Basque mythology. He's depicted as a large, hairy man-like creature who makes his home in caves deep in the forest of the Pyrenees, the mountainous range that runs across the northern Spanish-French border. It appears that the myth of the I can't pronounce it that way.
Shaka Khan.
Let me figure. Oh wait, that's copyrighted. Goes back thousands of years, if not more, with some comparing him to the Yeti of the Himalayas. The Friends of the Shepherds, what we brand as myth today, was once the region of early Amnis Basque dwellers, and the more simple explanation is the Basques, with his immense shaggy appearance, facial and body hair, and knotted mane reaching down to his knees, is merely a personification of a wood spirit. However, surprisingly, despite his huge bulk and intimidating appearance, many stories of the Basques talk of benevolent giant, a guardian of the woods and flocks of the sheep, and friend to the local Basque shepherds.
And so there are also legends, and this is one of those things that people would poo-poo to a point, where there are legends of the fact that Basques showed the modern people how to show them metallurgy and other things that just don't seem like they'd be possible,
like Bigfoot, yeah. Nevertheless, there's far more intriguing characteristic associated with the Basques as that of a teacher of men, a creature who had developed skills in mining, foraging, and crop cultivation, and taught these skills to the local population. Stories tell of how the Basques was adept at making tools, and is said to have shown the farmers how to make mills, axes, and saws, and melt metals. Although the image of the Basques as a modern man in prehistoric times seems less plausible, there's an interesting theory that supports it. That becomes the other question. Was it just a kind of a tribe of people? Yeah, but I wonder, is it possible that it was one of our ancestors?
Well, so there's a bunch of depictions that I've seen that look like a woodwose, but this is like a modern costume depicting the Basques. Is this showing up, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely.
The way that I had to share this. Anyway, but yeah, so this is a modern depiction of what the story supposedly continues to mean, and this is actually just Basque mythology is what we're looking at here. So a traditional costume of what the Basques was supposed to be. Very interesting, and really familiar, honestly. So this poses some interesting questions for me. I definitely think it's interesting.
Yeah, now we're sharing me for some reason, so I'll share me instead. As Dean Cooper brings up a good point, Spain has a very interesting geology. Basically, Spain kind of slammed into Europe after the big breakup and the congealance of what's gotten us into our structure of everything now. Spain was kind of the hook that landed everything under Europe into Europe. But that would have been long before any type of migration of humanoid type creatures along that boundary.
But those sort of geological upwellings bring out minerals and nutrients that not only like supply rainfall, but supply nutrients to plants that bring animals and that bring people. They bring Neanderthals. They bring, like all sorts of other things. Very important area. Now, the other interesting comment is the the Basques like an allegory for Neanderthals.
That was my question, is could it have been one of our ancestors that was still left along from prehistoric times that was just kind of transformed?
They could have been, however they went extinct, whether whether they were bred into our population or they were bred out of extinction, or they were bred we just murdered them, whatever, or they got a sickness that they couldn't handle, or their allergies just got so bad they couldn't take it anymore.
With a rock.
Yeah. So like, no matter what the end of them was, is this a story? Did they have? They didn't have a lot of body hair, probably. Like, you look at, we can look at the parts of our genome that control body hair, and they have kind of the same thing. But that doesn't mean that some of us aren't pretty hairless and some of us aren't pretty hairy in general, like as far as modern humans go. So if you can't change a tire, don't shave your chest.
That's right.
So, but the those are really interesting questions, like from an anthropological standpoint, that I think that it's just as good as, like, okay, I got to go out in the woods and take down one of these with a rifle. Does this really point back to our closest cousins, the Neanderthals, in this area? And did we carry that story with us out of Europe when we traveled that way? Now, it seems unlikely that we would. So where is the biological aspect? I mean, to take that story, if that story was so important with us that we took it all the way for thousands of years, generations and generations with us, all the way out of Europe and into the Americas, to have that same story by the time the Europeans showed up back here and we had mostly forgotten about the Basque stories, that would be incredible, to say the least.
Absolutely. Now, I was reading a Cryptomundo article, excuse me a moment, from a defunct Karma 7 magazine. There exists a creature of considerable height, completely covered in hair, that wandered the Pyrenees with incredible agility, and even along non-Pyrenetic areas such as Zenuri and the Basque country, or the caves of the Muskaya and the Mabacs. They are collectively known as the Basques, the lords of the forest. According to the journalist Roberto Arta, God, I can't pronounce anything with an X. The existence of folkloric creature is deeply rooted in Basque tradition, and as the very name is suggested, as Usurkara word basso, forest, wilderness, and June, lord, rendered the composite of Basha June, master of the forest or the wilderness. The description is that the creature is endowed with an extraordinary physical force, great agility, speed of travel, considerable height, quiet talker than average man, and fully anthropomorphic features, covered in long hair and sometimes described as having long claws. Many people believe that these creatures possess the secret of cultivating wheat, and that humans learned from them how to plant and harvest it. So here we go again, that they hold the secrets to how men became agriculturalists and no longer hunters and gatherers.
So of all those things, like, if you look at them from like somebody who is trying to disseminate truth out of cultural anthropology, like, which portions of that are true? Is it true that they showed us how to did they teach us agriculture, or did they teach us metallurgy, or did they teach us both, or did they exist at all? Very interesting. Or was the long hair on the body meant to basically like dehumanize them in the stories, and the hair added, or was the size added, or what was added to make the story fit what they needed to at that time, and then gets carried on for generation after generation.
And that becomes a good question. The Phantom and Monsters article that I was looking at was talking about there's a 15th century church that has carvings of them in the actual church itself. So, I mean, really? I mean, does that really what it comes down to? That I mean, we go again, we see wild men in the woods in lots of churches of Europe. We've talked about it in the past as we go along these different corridors. It always seems that in the cathedrals is where the history is stored, even if it's just in pictures or depictions. And again, we find stories of this particular Baja Khan in the 15th century cathedral in that area.
Which is perfectly attuned to what we were talking about when we did the Woodwose episode, talking about, maybe not, we were talking about kind of like, Britain and North, mid Europe, where, we'd done the snow mountain of Northern Europe, and now we're doing like Southern Europe, so, but it all ties together because it's all so close. And if you think about it geographically, it's like less than the geographical like landmass of the West Coast, so all there, it ties together, and there is this rich history of this there, which is why it's interesting to me that this European thing, why, if there's no biological reason for it, does this again show up in in the Inuit stories, in the Native American stories? There's the more far-fetched, but in the South American stories that we've covered, so why does this continue to show up? Why, when Magellan, or whoever it was Magellan who came around with the Patagonian giants? Yeah. So whoever that was, that guy, when he came around and saw these large people, why did he assume they were giants? Why did he assume there was some mythological basis? It's a very important thing to think about, and to look at this mythos and how we approach it. And it, we can apply that directly back to the woo, but where it seems almost impossible without a biological basis for this to sustain itself for the thousands of years, unless it was the most important. People are like, oh, it was just Gigantopithecus, and they ran into some relic Gigantopithecus when they came across, when the First Nations people, the indigenous Americans, came over. And and that's where the story came from. No, they didn't have Gigantopithecus in Spain. So right. Why is this? Where did it come from?
And like with any other story, it would die out eventually if there weren't any new reasons to tell the story.
Yeah, exactly. Either this is the earliest story that was ever told in our species, or there's a biological basis for why this continues to come up, and it's drenched in allegory and teachings and all the things that we do, because that's what modern humans do. That's what separates us from the apes. We repurpose things for that teaching aspect, and we understand allegory.
If you guys live in the Pyrenees Mountains and you want to start investigating the Baja Khan, email us here at itsloungepodcast@gmail.com. Also, do you have a Bigfoot encounter you want to tell us? We're doing interviews this year. We're doing all kind of lucky things. We'll put you on the air. We'll make you famous. Email us itsloungepodcast@gmail.com. Find us at facebook.com/groups/slounge, or join the fan page at facebook.com/slounge podcast. You can find the blog, Jesus, at squatchitall.blogspot.com. Did I leave anything out?
If you're just a Squatchers Lounge podcast super fan and you want to come up and discuss a topic with us,
that's right.
Hit us up.
All you need is a smartphone.
Facebook, email. All you need is a smartphone and some headphones. Headphones are important.
Headphones are definitely important.
Yeah, and we'd love to have some folks on the show to talk with us and just we could do a you pick the topic night. Let's do this.
That would be really interesting. Hey, let's give the last of the shout outs from the chat room out there. D Fuller, we missed him earlier because he wasn't fast enough to type on the keyboard. And also I see we have a late joiner to the chat room as Ryan Taylor. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight and joining us. Late night edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. We'll try to get back on at 8:00, but that's what it's a podcast. We can watch it whenever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's usually my fault. Just keep blaming me. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't blame anybody. That's what's cool about it. It's just a podcast. Join us Monday nights for Bigfoot Entertainment Weekly. This week we're doing shooting Bigfoot. All this other fun. That's right. Gonna talk about how wonderful of a show.
Joan, get me a Snapple.
That actually was.
I might have actually some vacation coming up, and I'll have to crash that one.
That's Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the podcast channel. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for the Dr. David Batdorf, Esquire, pseudoscientist. I'm the Reverend Jeff. We say thanks for watching, and may the Squatch.
I just got one last thing to say.
Sure. May the Squatch be with you. What the F theater at the end of Bigfoot Entertainment Weeklies. If y'all haven't seen those, the last 4 episodes, you need to go back and see the very end of it. Get caught up.
You're gonna need to put those in linear order and just like epic audio series.
Yeah, that's exactly what'll happen. A playlist will appear. The only way to hear them uncensored is to watch the Bigfoot Entertainment Weekly, though.
Yeah. That might get you arrested.
I'm counting on it.